Welcome. In this video I'm going to be taking a look at these two different smart plugs from TP-Link. So I do want to disclose that I have worked with TP-Link in the past, but I purchased these with my own money. So these are part of the Casa lineup. So these are the EP25P4 and these are the EP10P4. So when you see the P4 on the end of the model name, that just means it's a 4-pack. So these are the EP25 plugs and these are the EP10 plugs. So the functional difference between these is that these are energy monitoring and these are not. So these can tell you how much energy is being drawn by the outlet. This does not do that. Now these both can be controlled over Wi-Fi using the app. This one says HomeKit, ALEXA, and Google. This one says Google, ALEXA, and SmartThings. And they're both rated for 15 amps. So I'm going to open these up. We'll take a look at the physical differences, maybe talk about the functional differences, and I'll demonstrate getting them set up. So it looks like both have this card. Looks like they're slightly different from each other, but this talks about setting it up. So you go into your Apple or Android phone or tablet, download the Casa app, and then add the device from within there. This talks about adding it in the Google Home app, and below that we have a sticker with QR codes, I think, for each outlet. So I'll pull these out. So the one on the left does the energy monitoring, the one on the right does not. You can see it's quite a bit slimmer. So the one on the left says TP-Link on the top, the one on the right says Casa. The energy monitoring one has a button on the right, the non-energy monitoring has it on the left. This also has a light ring here. This one, maybe the button lights up, I guess we'll find that out. These both have serial numbers and such on the bottom. Let me get out a tape measure here. So this is a little over 1.5 inches. This is about 1 3/16 inches. So that would be how far it will stick out from the wall. Let's look at the width on here is 2 5/8 and 2 3/8. And those may not be exact, but it's pretty close. And there's the difference between the two. Height-wise, they're nearly the same, and that's about 1.5 inches. So I have a power strip here. Let's pull this out. Now I measured earlier, and the outlet spacing on this is similar to what you would have on a wall outlet, so it matches up. So I'm going to plug both of these in, and we can see how they space if you want to use 2 of these in one outlet. So at the same time, let me get my iPad here, and we'll get them set up in the app. Okay, so I have the Casa app here, and I already have some devices set up. I do have a different version of this. It's the KP115. So it looks identical to the EP25, except on the bottom the serial number looks a little different, but otherwise they look identical to each other. So I'll do one at a time. I'll plug in the energy monitoring one, and then I'll go into the app and I'll hit plus. I'll say add device, add smart plug. I'll add the HomeKit smart plug, and this is a little clue here. The previous one I was looking at is the KP115, and it apparently does not have HomeKit compatibility. It's under the Smart Plug Lite Mini. So I'll hit the HomeKit smart plug here. I plugged it in, I'll hit next. It says check the Wi-Fi light to see if it's blinking orange and blue. So it's very difficult to see on camera probably, but you can see it's blinking orange and blue. So I'll tap orange and blue. It says it would like to access my home data. I'll say okay. I'll hit add to home. It wants me to scan the code on the back of it, so I'll do that. I'll hit add to Apple Home. It's connecting to the outlet. It says outlet location, so it has a bunch of suggested options here. I'll do basement suggested. I'll hit continue. It says outlet name. It says Casa Smart Wi-Fi plug. So I'm not quite ready to name this, so I'll rename it later. I'll just leave it as the default and I hit continue. Now it has some preset options here for fan, light, and outlet. So I'll just leave it as outlet, but if you do have this plugged into a light or a fan, you can designate that. I'll hit continue and I'll hit done. It says please add the unlinked device to your Casa account so you can access more features through the Casa app. So I'll hit a plus next to it. And here we have it in the Casa app. So you can see the on-off switch has a green ring around it. So if I tap that, it will turn it off. Tap it again, it will turn it on. So now it's ready to go. So now we can plug a light, a fan, or some other device into this. We'll dig a little deeper into it in a second, but let's set up the other device, the EP10. So I will plug it in. I'll hit add device. Smart plugs, Smart Plug Lite Mini, EP10. I'll hit next. It says powered up, and I did just plug it in. Again, it's hard to see. This is blinking blue and orange. I'll hit next. It says go to your iPad setting and join your smart plug's Wi-Fi network. So in my Wi-Fi settings, I see the TP-Link smart plug. I'll tap that. I'll go back to the app. It says connecting to smart plug. says choose a network, so I'll choose one of my Wi-Fi networks. I'll enter in my Wi-Fi password and I'll hit join. So this is setting up Wi-Fi on the outlet. So we can give it a name. I'll just call it Casa Outlet. When I finally set these up, I'll give it a better name. I'll hit save. You can choose an icon, so they have lamps and different things here. Kettle, I'll hit save there. It has different locations, studio or custom. I'll just choose studio and I'll hit save. It says it's ready to use, so I'll hit sounds good. It says there's a firmware update, so I'll say update now. So I'll let that complete. So while that's doing that, I'll give my thoughts on the install process. So the EP25 I think was easier to set up, at least it was on my iPad. I'm not sure on Android. I didn't have to go in and manually set up the Wi-Fi, it just happened automatically. This is also compatible with HomeKit, so if you want something that's compatible with HomeKit, I think this is going to be your better option. So that makes this a very versatile plug since it works with HomeKit, ALEXA, and Google. So it says update complete done. I'll hit that. So now under my devices, I have the Casa outlet. Again, I can tap in the app and it will turn it on and off. So if I tap on Casa outlet and not the switch itself, it'll take us in here and we have different options. We have schedule, so we can use this as a timer switch. We have timer, so we can have this turn off after, say, 30 minutes. It has an away mode. And we can see the runtime here. So if we go up to the settings here, we can rename it. We have LED status, so we can turn the LED off. So if this is in a bedroom and you don't want that little LED on, you can turn that off. So let's go back to the TP-Link smart plug. This is the EP25. So we have similar options down below, but we also have energy. So I'll tap on that. So here we can see the energy usage breakdown. So here I have an iron. I'm going to place it off to the side and I'll plug it in. It says the current consumption is around 1200 watts. So if you have this plugged in over time, you can tell how much energy your iron is using. So a potential use for this could be to plug it into an appliance, like a freezer or a sump pump or a dehumidifier, so you can tell when it's running. Now a potential downside is if this were to fail and those devices would cease to operate. So this could be entering in a point of failure. So that's something to keep in mind. And I don't even personally know if I feel comfortable plugging this into a freezer, but I'm intrigued by the idea of plugging it in and being able to tell if the freezer's running. So you have to use your own judgment there. So if I swipe to the right, we have more stats. We have current runtime, total runtime, so you can see how long something is operating. So with my experience with the KP115, I found that the app is a little bit limiting, but I found these work very well with Home Assistant, home automation software. If you connect these up to Home Assistant, you can draw charts and things like that, and you can get really detailed monitoring. So I'll unplug this now. So I'm going to turn the outlet off. I'll turn both off. And let's look at some other things we can do with the Casa family of products. So I have a spot cam here, and that was provided to me by TP-Link for a previous video, but they have no association with this video. So if we go to smart and say add smart action, we can say when add trigger, we can say trigger device, and we can say trigger the spot cam when motion is detected, and we'll hit done. And then we can go action, control smart devices, and we'll control the EP25 outlet. We'll say turn on, and we'll have the duration for, we'll just say 5 seconds. We'll hit next, and we'll say motion light. Done, okay? Let's go to home here. I'll widen out my camera. So I have the Casa camera back here. It's pointed at the wall, and I don't have a light plugged in here, but you can imagine if I had a lamp plugged in here. I'm going to wave my hand in front of it. Okay, and I just heard the outlet click. So it clicked for 5 seconds and then it turned off. So in practical usage, you'd probably have it go on for say 30 seconds. So in here you're combining the Casa camera detecting motion with the outlet to create a motion light. You can also have it so when you turn one outlet on, the other outlets turn on. I don't think you can use energy sensing to do that. I did not see that in the automations. But if you want advanced stuff, I would connect this up to software like Home Assistant, where you have the capability to do those types of things. So real quick, I'm going to pop this out and I'll put 2 of these in, like so you can see what those look like. And there's 2 of the smaller ones. So with the slim profile here, I think that's a pretty clean look if you have 2 of these plugged into a single outlet to control 2 different devices. So I'm going to do one more quick test. Here I have a power meter. I'm going to plug the outlets in one at a time and see how much standby power they're drawing. So I plugged it in, it says 0.5, 0.6 watts, 0.7. So I'll let this sit for a minute while it connects up to Wi-Fi, and then we'll check out the watt draw. Okay, so it's going back and forth between 0.5 and 0.6 watts. So what that's telling me is if you want to use these to save energy, whatever you're shutting off should have a higher draw than that. So if you have a phone charger plugged into here, most phone chargers that I've seen draw pretty much 0 when you're not using them. So plugging it into here would not save energy because the plug would be taking more than that. Now let's actually turn this on with nothing plugged into it. And now we've gone up to 1.1 watts. Now if you had this plugged into a fan and maybe the fan draws 60 watts, using this to turn the fan on and off would likely save energy. So the energy used by the plug itself would be less than the money consumed by the fan by leaving the fan running all the time, as an example. So that was the EP25, let's look at the EP10. So here we have 0.5, and I'll let that get started up. Okay, so this is saying 0.5, the other one said 0.5, 0.6, this is staying on 0.5, I'll turn it on. And we're around 1 to 1.1, so the other one was made between 1 to 1.2. Seems to be slightly more efficient than the EP25. So that's a basic overview of the Kasa EP25 and EP10 smart plugs. So I got the 4 packs of each of these because I'm going to be adding them in Home Assistant, and I'll be doing some automations, and I'll be using the EP25s where I want to do energy sensing, and I'll use the EP10s where I just want to control power. Now if I had to choose between the two and I could only choose one, I'd definitely choose the energy sensing. They're a little bit easier to set up and they have high compatibility. The reason I didn't buy 2 packs of these is because I wanted to check these out, but also I like the slimmer size, and if I don't need to do energy sensing, then I think this is the better option. So that's all I'm going to cover in this video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.